Okay, you can see I've put the flywheel on. So look, there was nothing involved in that. I did the bolts up. I think I did them 30 foot-pounds or thereabouts. I didn't check the foot-pounds, but I know a 3/8 bolt, and I just nipped them up. We've got lock tabs here. We're good to go. We have the pilot bearing in there, the throwout, or the spigot we call it sometimes. And I have an old shaft out of an old Fergie that went through a flood and we had to wreck one time. But I've only had to go and get this because the videoing of the front gearbox, I've already completed that while I was waiting for the ring gear. So now the ring gear is all on, that's all good. I found my old shaft, it's time to put the clutch on. So we've put the pilot bearing in. Now the clutch plate, it comes with the large boss out to the back. If you try and put it the other way, you can see it doesn't work. So the large flange comes to the clutch cover. This is a solid plate. Some prefer solid, some not. Look, I don't mind either way really. You can see the rivets got holes in them so they don't suck on. That's a probably more modern design, I suppose. Now, pretend this is a shaft coming out of the gearbox. What we need to do is actually take the clutch plate to the shaft sticking out in front of the gearbox. Make sure it goes on. It's too late when you're trying to push the tractor together. Think, God, that bloody thing, why won't that go on? It's too late then. So I've also, if you remember, some of the bolts were broken, and so we're going to put a full set of 5/16 UNC bolts, zinc bolts with spring washers on them. So we're going to do that. So what we'll do, I'll just set that like that, put the clutch plate on here. Now you can see it's a little bit of a fiddle to get on the spline, so you can imagine how it can be when you're trying to put the tractor together. So you have to have that all done. So I'll just bring it over where I can see what I'm doing here for a second. And there we go. So we just put the pilot bearing in. So what we have the old shaft with the pilot bearing in, the clutch plate on. We get a couple of nuts with their new spring washers because they're just flash. And we just lift this into place. Now, okay, if you've got the clutch apart, you should really be having a good look at that back seal. So you would have a shaft. It's really worth doing. We do sell a plastic pretend front shaft at Queensland Tractor Spares. So if you'd rather have one of those, we do have them available. If you're in the USA, Steiner Tractor Parts sell them. Yeah, it just depends. So we'll start all these bolts. You can hear my squeaky chair squeaking away, but that's the only chair that gets me down this low. So I'd like to start all the bolts. Now I've blown the holes out so I know they can't bottom out. These bolts I'm using, I believe they're inch. They're a little bit longer than the old ones, but I've done test runs with them to make sure they don't bottom out without clutch plates and things like that. So they are good to go. Now the tension on these is probably around 20 foot-pounds. Look, I just don't worry about that on these jobs like this. It may or may not be the correct thing to do depending on what your thoughts are, but if you get it done up and you just use a spanner that's about as big as your hand and just nip him up, you're not going to bugger them up. So all I want to do here is we slowly bring everything up, try and bring it up evenly. And you can see we have two bolt holes, so I'll do this one and try and have the evenly spaced bolt holes. Bring the clutch in together. come back around to this one. And have a feel, just try and keep it all pretty close to the same. I'll bring the other ones up to chase them up. This little ratchet, that's my favourite little ratchet. That's a little snap-on one. I don't know if it's even got a number. FLF 80. There you go, that's a beauty. Yeah, I enjoy using it. Okay, so now we can slowly bring this clutch plate up, nice and even. You'll see the fingers, as we tighten it, you'll see the fingers going down. We haven't finished with the fingers yet. Another thing you'll notice is that I undo things with my little nut gun, but you'll notice that I'm not doing them up with the nut gun. And I do that because I believe you haven't got the feel that you need to know if the bolt's going in how it should or something like that. But undoing them, I don't care undoing them, I just rip it up. So we'll just nip that up. And so for a 5/16 bolt, I believe it's about 20 foot-pounds torque. I don't do it, like as you can see, I don't torque these bolts up. I have enough faith in my own experience just to do them up to what they need to be done up in. Thereabouts anyway. So I'll just poke a bolt through, pop a bar in there. I'll just make sure they're all nice and even. And there's me 20 foot-pounds. Did you hear me elbow click? Okay, here's our shaft here. So that should be able to slide in if this was the shaft of the gearbox. Now you can see why you have to get everything so close, eh? Because you do have to turn and fiddle a bit, then that goes right in. So I can disregard this front shaft for a little bit. Now, what we're looking for, now these on a new clutch, these should be set, it should be okay. But what I always check for, I've got my very, very cheap verniers here. Oh yeah, old cheapos, knock around the shop ones. So with the new clutch plate in, that's sitting at just on 30 mil. Just on 30 mil. So they're 30 mil. So, and that's from the flange. That's from the flange next to the rivets, just not on the piece that comes up. So look, that's okay. I'm happy with that. Now, what I like to do at this stage is just on the front surface here, I like to, on the lead up to the splines, I just like to put a little grease there. So if the spline's coming up and sitting hard against it there, it's sort of assisting it to slip in. Now, what I didn't mention is you could get a file and just lead those splines in a little bit, put a tiny little lead edge on them. I haven't done in this case, but I have in the past. If you feel better with that, certainly do it. There's no problem doing it, you can't do any harm. But look, that's bolting the clutch up and just checking the finger height. this video will just be a little short and sweet one, just so you can see me doing that. From here, I think our next video will be putting the tractor together, and we'll just see how it goes together for me. Probably buddy won't go to shit seeing as I'm filming, but that's all right. Okay, we'll have a look and see if we can get it all back and make the tractor one piece again.